Good morning, students. Hope you all are very well. Let's see. When we see the history of science in students' life up to the 7th class, just we read only a science textbook. But when we move to the 8th class, our science becomes two new textbooks: physical science and biological science. Look at the physical science. It says about solids, liquids and gases and its properties, periodic table, and say about some chemicals, and it gives some more knowledge about the different things. Look at for the biological science. In biological science, we learn about where the living organism's life starts, how the living organism's life will be formed, how a cell structure formed, what are the organelles present in the cell, what are unicellular organisms, what are multicellular organisms, how a cells become tissues, how the tissues become organs, how the organs become an organic system, and finally a living being. These all things we learn in biological science. When we see the 8th and 9th classes, we will discuss about these all things: the structure of the cell and tissues present in the plants and animals, sense organs, and the age of adolescence, and agricultural practices, and how can we improve the agricultural practices, animal husbandry, and pollutions about air and water, and biogeological cycles. These are things learned up to the 9th class. But when we move to the 10th class, the textbook will be very special. In this 10th class biology, we will learn about the systems, organic systems. What are the organic systems present in our body and in plants? These all things we'll learn in a sequence. When we observe each and every lesson in the 10th class biology, it should coordinate with animals and plants. Animals and plants. What is the structure of animal? What is the structure of the plant? What is the function of that organic system? And what is the function of that organic system in the plant? We learn in a sequence. So it is very interesting. Once when we observe the index of our biology textbook, it starts with nutrition, next respiration, circulation, excretion, coordination, reproduction, coordination in life processes, heredity, and our environment, our concern, natural resources. This is the index of 10th class biology textbook. Additionally, we have one more small book, that is environmental science. In the textbook, we will learn about the environment. What was the past environment? What is the present environment? What is the future? And what are the consequences if continue in this way of the environment? These all things we'll learn in 10th class biology textbook. Students, in class 6th and 7th of science, we learned about our food components like carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins and minerals. From that, obtaining of food is called nutrition. Obtaining a food is called nutrition. So, our 10th biological science first topic name is nutrition. Obtaining a food is called nutrition. Why these nutrients are needed to living organisms? Let's say food is needed for all living organisms, maintaining mainly for growth and repair of cells. We get nutrients from food. So why food is needed to living organisms? For growth of the living organism and repair of the cells of that organism, we need food. Okay? For the growth of the living organism and repair if any injuries. On the injury part, they need repair. For the repairing of cells and growth of the organism, all the organisms need food. Not only for that, to maintain the body temperature of the living organism, they need food. Okay, the next thing is taking of food is different from single cellular organisms to multicellular organisms. Taking of food is different from single cellular organism. Example, amoeba. Its structure is only a single cell. So the taking of food is different in single cellular organisms and multicellular organisms. Nothing but we know that which living organisms have more than the one cell, they all are multicellular organisms. The taking of food is also different when compared with single cellular organisms. Now see the next point, the mode of acquiring food. The mode of acquiring food is various from organism to organism. The mode of acquiring food is also various from organism to organism, whether it is single cell or multicellular organism. The mode of acquiring food is different.
Students, read the following questions and write down the answers in your notebook.
Students, based on how different organisms get their food, the organisms are three types: Autotrophs, heterotrophs and parasites. Let's see here Autotrophs. The organisms which have capable of using sunlight energy or light energy or solar energy to synthesize the chemical compounds, that are autotrophs. The type of nutrition is called autotrophic nutrition. Which organisms have capable of using of solar energy and participate in a chemical synthesis process. After that they make food. The type of nutrition is called autotrophic nutrition and that organisms are called autotrophs. For example, plants. Plants participate in a process, one special process. They capturing light energy and they participate in a chemical synthesis process and they make food. Next, heterotrophs. The organisms depends on others for food and shelter. They don't have capable to make their food own. For food purpose, for shelter purpose, they depends on other organisms. This type of organisms are heterotrophs. This type of nutrition is Heterotropic nutrition. Example, all animals. We are also animals. We are belongs to animals. We don't have a capable to make our own food. We depends on plants for the food. Next one is parasites. The organisms which are depends on other and may cause any effect to the host. So parasites, they get shelter from a living organism. They receive food. They receive shelter from that organism. That is called host. So after that, they affect the host cell. They affect the host cell. Nothing but which provide the shelter. They make effect to that organism. That are called parasites. Example, microorganisms. When we listen a example, it is very clear to us to understand. For example, rhinovirus. It is a microorganism. When it enter into our body, it receive food and shelter from our body, and it affect to us. It affect cold or cough to us. So, like the type of organisms or belongs to parasites. The type of nutrition is called parasitic nutrition. Example, some microorganisms, not all microorganisms, some of the microorganisms are example for parasites. These parasites are two types: external parasites, internal parasites. A mite which is on our head, in the hair, between the hair, that is the example for external parasite. So many microorganisms are lives in our small intestine, bacteria. So these are example for internal parasites. They receive food and shelter from the organism and they affect to that organism. That are parasites. The type of nutrition is called parasitic nutrition. Autotrophic nutrition. We know that they use sunlight and they use some other nutrients to make their own food. Let's see here how they acquire these all things to make the food. They acquire nutrients like mineral salts and water from the soil. Basically, we know the example for autotrophs. Plants are the example for autotrophs. They acquire mineral salts and water from the soil. In the soil, plants have roots. The roots absorb the water. Along with the water, they receive minerals and salts. The next thing is, to make the food, they need mineral salts and water. And the next thing is, they need gases. They receive gases from the environment with the help of the stomata. It present in the leaf. They receive gases from the environment, the surrounding environment. The next thing is, capture the sunlight. They capture the sunlight from the environment also. With the help of the stomata cells, they receive sunlight. So they make the food by their own chemical synthesis process. Let's see here, plants are the example for autotrophic nutrition. So basically, all the human beings and animals, even those animals also depend on plants for the food. Generally, human beings are depend on animals and plants for their food sources. But whereas the animals, they also depends on plants for their food. So we have a big doubt. what life processes is there in the plants? What is the process to make the food? So, several years ago, so many scientists have been working for their researches, to know about what life process is presented in plants. So, finally, they conclude one thing: the process of photosynthesis. It makes the plants the universal food providers for all living organisms. The photosynthesis process, it is a process present in the plants to make the food. So that's why plants are called the universal food providers. They provide food for all living organisms. Not only food, they give oxygen also for all of us. So, scientists started their researches. Basically, these researches are recorded from the researches or experiments are recorded from the 17th century about the plants. What is the process present in that? One of the scientists named von Helmont, he conducted an experiment for 5 years. Finally, he established one thing: water is one of the essential factor for the process to make the food in plants.
Students, read the following questions and write down the answers in your notebook.
Students, look at this picture. This picture indicates about the process of photosynthesis. All the green plants, they receive carbon dioxide, nothing but CO2 from the environment, from the air. They receive, the leaves receive the carbon dioxide. Leaves have stomata cells. These stomata cells absorb the carbon dioxide in the process of diffusion. And these leaves have chlorophyll. It is one of the special factor in leaves. So the first component, they receive carbon dioxide from the air to the leaves. They receive sunlight. Here the green leaves are captured the sunlight. It is the second component. And the third one is the roots of the plant. They absorb water with minerals and salts. They absorb minerals and salts along with water. This water and minerals are entered into the leaf with the help of this root and stem. Leaf have chlorophyll. So, carbon dioxide, sunlight, water and chlorophyll. These four are the major components participate in photosynthesis process. They participate in a chemical synthesis process. At the end of the process, they release oxygen, nothing but O2. They release oxygen into the environment. It is the respiratory factor for all living organisms. And they make carbohydrates. They make carbohydrates. These carbohydrates are converted to starch and stored in the leaves and various parts of the plant. So finally, when we give a definition to the photosynthesis, all green plants, they receive carbon dioxide from the environment, they capture sunlight, they absorb water with minerals and salts. With the help of the chlorophyll, they participated in a chemical synthesis process and they release oxygen into the environment. They make carbohydrates. The complete process name is called photosynthesis. Scientists are trying to give a formulate for the photosynthesis process. C.B. von Neil, he was tried to give a equation for the process of photosynthesis. C.B. von Neil, in the year of 1931, he proposed a formula or an equation to show the process of photosynthesis. Several scientists are trying to give an equation, but his equation, first he used one molecule of carbon dioxide, two molecules of water with the help of light and chlorophyll. They participated in a chemical synthesis process. They make carbohydrates and they release one molecule of water and one molecule of oxygen. C.B. von Neil, when he started his researches, first in his research he worked with a purple sulfur bacteria, and he found that light play a specific role in photosynthesis process. He found that first he worked on purple sulfur bacteria and he found one thing, sunlight play an specific role in the process of photosynthesis. First, instead of the water molecule, he used H2S, hydrogen sulfide. Instead of the starting water molecule in this equation, nothing but instead of the water molecule, he used H2S, hydrogen sulfide. When he used hydrogen sulfide, here there is no oxygen released. Sulfur was released in this equation. So finally, he given a well-noted equation to the photosynthesis. That equation is 6CO2 plus 12H2O gives us to C6H12O6 plus 6H2O plus 6O2. On the gives us light and chlorophyll. So he given a final equation. Now all the people are using this equation for the process of photosynthesis. It is a balanced equation.